Hi everybody, we are getting together here today to talk about our take on the fashion revolution that's underway and what we can do to make a change to the textile industry. We've got Lauren here from Solomon Street. I'm Erin of The Stolen Stylist, and we've got Phoebe of Hunter Made and Kari of Slow Clothes. So we're all getting here together today to have a chat with each other and you about what we think we can do to help you and ourselves as well make a change in this industry.
And I think it's quite a unique opportunity because, as we were just saying, it's the first time that we're meeting, me and Erin, and so we're all from, we all have a similar goal, but all from very different perspectives from it. So, how about Kari? Do you want to start with just introducing yourself to everybody and what Slow Clothes is all about?
Yeah, well, I'm Kari. I have a little business called Slow Clothes. We started almost a year ago. We're turning 1 in May. Yay. I'm quite surprised that we are still going. When you have a business idea and you don't actually think that in a year you'll actually have a business. So that's really exciting. It just happens. Yeah, well, I do education sessions, so I'm really passionate about educating the community and sort of building the movement, I guess. So that's a really big motivator for me. I also sell a range of sort of my personal favourite ethical labels and mainly labels that aren't available in SA otherwise. Even though we're building the online store, I really started the business to try and make these brands accessible in real life to people living in South Australia because it's been quite difficult. I know in Melbourne there's quite a lot of amazing stores and we've got more and more coming in Adelaide, like Solomon Street now, which has opened recently. So just contributing, and I got into slow fashion. I'm a pretty socially conscious person. Like I take my keep cup everywhere and grew up planting trees every weekend and all that stuff. And when I realised a couple of years ago that I wasn't applying my values to my clothes, I was quite shocked. Like I'd heard of slavery and I'd heard of child labour and I know quite a lot about them. I've worked in international development for the last 10 years. And I was really surprised that I hadn't taken it on board though and gone, what is my role in this? You know, what are my clothes? How are my clothes contributing to that? And once I realised my own individual power and my own individual role in the whole global system, that's when this shift came about, and I wanted to help share that with other people because once you start the journey, it's super empowering. And every morning when I open my wardrobe and put on just like a plain t-shirt that I know has been made organically and, you know, locally and in great conditions, I feel great. And it's not something you can necessarily see. I mean, it just looks like a t-shirt. But I want to share that power with people because it feels so good.
It feels really special when you wear a sustainable piece of clothing. I think you're wearing something that is actually made with intention. You're wearing something that has a background of compassion, I guess, as well. I always feel that when I'm wearing a piece of slow clothing, I feel better about it. Yeah.
Could you tell us about your business?
Yeah. So I started Hunter Made, the fashion label, about 2 years ago. But to kind of explain why I started it, you kind of have to look at, I guess, where I grew up and my connection to the natural world. So I spent a lot of time as a kid moving. My family we just moved a lot. And I was just saying before to Erin that I lived in the Territory for a little while, and we lived in like a little caravan, like a little camp area. And it really struck me as amazing that you can live on the land in that way. I hadn't really understood that much, I guess, before that. So fast forward to now, going through art school and going to fashion school, I just had to sort of, I guess, reject the way things were being done and sort of look at it from that perspective as a small kid and going, actually, what am I making? What's the impact? Do I want to continue what's been going on with the norms, or can I make my own changes? And I was seeing other people doing that, and I was meeting other people doing it as well, and I thought, yeah, I want to make this change. So I started Hunter Made, where I use leaves and flowers and petals and avocado pits to steam dye and create botanical dyes onto fabrics. So this piece, for example, has been dyed with eucalyptus leaves, and it's on a really nice, lovely merino Australian wool fabric. So I love knowing that in its life, once it's finished, it can then just decompose back into the natural world, and that makes me feel just really happy with a closed loop sort of piece. So that's me. That's my background.
The nice thing about scarves as well is that they are so versatile.
Yeah.
You can wear them in so many different
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
And what you were saying before,
Yeah.
Kari, about just feeling really good about the clothes that you're wearing.
Yeah.
Knowing the process of the journey of the clothes from its inception to being in your wardrobe, you then know that you're going to care for a little bit more because you know that it's been cared for from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a huge difference. Like from the
Yeah.
design, through the creation and the purchasing and the postage and all of the different things that happen along the way.
Yeah.
They're being cared for.
Yeah.
And the same with your scarf, as you said, it's a lovely Australian merino wool that can go back to nature once it's finished with. But in the meantime, that is going to, go the distance.
Yes.
You can wear it around your neck, in your hair, you can tie it around your handbag,
Yeah.
you can wear it around your waist.
Yeah.
And that is what I love about your products is that you've especially done such a great job of showing all of your customers the best way to wear pieces and the scarves you can wear not just as scarves but as pieces of clothing.
Oh, yeah, you can wrap it around as like
Yeah.
a top, and tie it at the back.
Yeah, you've
and
done a beautiful job.
you've got amazing clothes as well, Lauren. Tell
Thank
us
you,
about
Erin.
Solomon Street.
So Solomon Street, I have a graphic design background, so to getting into fashion was never the first thing on my mind. Solomon Street started when I read the book by Daniel Flynn, Chapter 1, about the Thank You brand, and that was kind of the first time I came across a social business. I wasn't really aware of their existence before that. I'd always been interested in business, but bringing a huge sense of compassion into business. I remember crying as I was reading it because it just resonated that much with me. And so I decided that I wanted to create a social business that was a goal to be successful for other people, not necessarily shareholders. With my background of graphic design, I was really interested in textiles and thought this would be something that really optimizes my skills and something that I love doing. And so why not combine those two ideas with the textile design, but also the social business side of things. Yeah. So that's kind of how Solomon Street started. And as Kari was saying, we just opened a store, which is really exciting.
So
Congratulations.
cool. I remember when I met you at a market event, and I was looking across from you, looking across at me, and we were just like, we were just like, this is great. And it was just like instantly, I feel like we were instantly like friends over that, which sounds really bizarre. But it was like that, wasn't it?
That was only like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was not that long ago.
It's been really cool to see how both of our businesses
I've loved watching you
have
grow.
grown.
We went to
You as well.
Texas recently.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
So,
And Erin, I want to hear all about how you come into it.
Well, obviously, my business is called The Stolen Stylist, and I'm just a styling business, basically, a personal styling business where I help people with wardrobe edits, tailored shops. I can do workshops that I've had a few already, and I also can do corporate styling as well, which is in the pipeline. But the underlying vision for my business is to empower other women to feel good about themselves. And through that journey, that was the original sort of vision, but through that journey I realised other stylists are sort of very consumer driven, and they focus on, buy this, for this season, buy for the next season, buy, and these are all the things that you should be buying, and they sort of promote a capsule wardrobe for each season that needs to be topped up. And I sort of looked at that and I thought, there's something that doesn't sit with me on that. So I decided to design my own capsule wardrobe that goes throughout the year. 12 months, 365 days, and if you've got those 24 pieces, that's all you need. You don't need anything more. And it's not to say that you only have 24 pieces in your wardrobe, although that will work. It can work, and I have narrowed my wardrobe down to that and working with that.
That's amazing.
But of those 24 pieces, say for example, a t-shirt, like you were saying, Kari, you might have, say, 5 t-shirts, a black one, a white one, a grey one. And I recommend people to have that so they can be versatile. But the idea behind my capsule wardrobe is that people can be creative with their dressing, and they can style themselves, and I'll give them the tools and the skills to do that so that they can actually mix and match and create new outfits. And it's amazing how many different outfits you can come up with.
When you're restricted, it's amazing what creativity can come from that.
Absolutely, yeah. That's right. And the same with scarves, it's like, understanding how you can be really versatile with a scarf, or if it is a jumpsuit, you know, it's knowing that you can actually just put a top over the top and all of a sudden it looks like trousers,
Yeah.
you know, and knowing that there are different ways that you can pull it together.
Yeah.
And through that, I feel like it's not just empowering women to feel good about themselves,
No.
but it's also empowering them to feel good about their choices.
Yeah.
You know, because when they're choosing their garments, they're actually consciously consuming
Yeah.
the clothes that they wear. You know, they're really thinking about it. They're thinking about the fabric. They're thinking about the process. Because I'm encouraging them to do that as well. You know, choose the brands that are going to be long lasting.
Yeah.
Choose the brands that are going to have a, you know, smaller carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And obviously, one overwhelming way to do that is to op shop.
Yeah.
You know, use what's already there.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't have any packaging attached to it. You know, there's lots of things that can have value in it
And
alongside.
I feel like that sort of approach, even though you're just working in the fashion space,
Mm.
that approach to conscious consumption is something that I know we all try and focus on, and something that process of elimination, but then also consciously choosing pieces that your customers can go and take that process to every aspect of their life.
Absolutely, and I direct them, like I give them the toolkit basically. You know,
Yeah.
they get the capsule wardrobe. They also get the places to go to, like you know, all of you guys here today. You know, this is why it's so exciting, because you know, to let people know what you guys have to offer is really important to the, you know, community and the world, but also to, you know, my clients and hopefully the clients of other stylists out there that are sort of, you know, going to the big conglomerates and going into these stores that have got 50,000 brands in it that are turning over 50,000 pieces a week. You know, it's like, actually, you don't need to do that. You can go local, shop local, shop ethical, shop sustainable. And hell, if what's the quote that's going around at the moment? If it doesn't have to be all, you know, a small amount of people doing it really, really well, it needs to be all of us doing it pretty averagely. And then we can actually start to make a bit of a change.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and that's what my vision is, along with you guys, is to try and find a way to gently, hopefully hastily, make that
You want
change.
people to feel included. It's an inclusive. Slow fashion is all about empowering people to look at their own wardrobes and actually assess what they've got and their consumption. It's not at all about there's no figure or there's nowhere you have to get. You're not trying to get somewhere. It's just
That's right. And that's exactly what, when I go through the wardrobes with my clients. You know, we only use 20% of what is in our wardrobe. Even if you've reduced it down to 24 pieces, you'll find that every season you're only using 20%. You know, I've had clients that have that much excess that they're overflowing into the next room. You know, and it's just helping them understand, look, you don't need this. Or they're helping them understand why they have so much excess. And in fact, that their excess can help other people not dive into the fast fashion fury. And instead they can share their garments with other people, friends, family. They can on-sell, they can donate. You know, there are options.
Also understanding that every single piece you have in your wardrobe has a story. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it has one. And actually just looking at it, and it doesn't mean to throw out the ones that haven't got a great story. It just means you understand it and you can...
you can create stories with them too.
Yes.
Working with Erin recently changed the advice I give people on slow fashion. Because, you know, there's the usual reduce and reuse and repair and recycle, but I always say see a stylist now, because we only work together very briefly for an hour for a photo shoot, actually, to help me put together some outfits, because I'm not very confident with styling. I'm not from fashion either. And the amount of outfits we got out of 7 pieces, I got probably 30 outfits out of it. So I'm a convert. Like, it's one of the most sustainable things that ever happened to me, and it sort of gave me courage now, and I just throw things together, and I get more comments like, oh, I love what you're wearing together. I never would have dared just pair them because I thought there were rules and I thought I would be doing it wrong, and the fashion people would look at me like, oh, you're not fashion-y, that's all wrong.
Well,
you're
talking about rules. I used to teach art as well. I was an art teacher for a while, and you know, I understand there are rules, but rules are made to be broken, right?
Exactly.
So when I used to teach art to my, you know, secondary students, I used to say to them, you know, they'd say to me, oh, am I getting this right? I said, yes, every single time. Because art and styling and fashion is about creativity. And if you're being put into a box with your creativity, then, you know, that's going against the laws
Yeah.
of creativity. So
People
you
say
need
to me all
to.
the time they're not creative and they don't come from a creative family or they don't have a creative background. Humans are creative.
Yeah.
Default. Like we are.
That's right.
It's just so that we want to be. We want to make. We want to understand. It's not going to art school. It's not going to fashion school. It's not any of those things. I just think that's a really important thing to say to people as well.
Yeah.
They can be creative in their wardrobe. You have to wear bold colours all the time. You can have it in your own way, but you can learn to express yourself.
Absolutely. So that's sort of
that's us.
that's
Yeah.
us.
Yay,
That's us in a
welcome.
nutshell, and
Yeah.
our creative little souls coming together.
Okay, well, Lauren, I'd love to ask you a question. I went to the Legacy Summit in Sydney recently and attended a session on communicating your values as a brand. And they were talking about how important it is to communicate your strengths as well as your weaknesses, because a lot of brands, I found out at this summit, which is fascinating, are really scared to talk about what they are doing well. So some of the really big brands doing really important changes, but they're really nervous to advertise that if they're not perfect, because then people go, oh, but you're not doing this and this and this. So if we're open and transparent about what we're doing well, but also what we're struggling with, that it really helps our journey and our communication. We don't need to have that fear, and we can talk about what we're doing really well. So my question for you is, could you share one thing in terms of ethics and sustainability that you're doing really well, and one thing that you're still struggling with perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that our ability at Solomon Street, it's I'm sorry, I'm going to have to
That's okay.
off my brain.
No,
Just
you
go
can come back
again.
into it. Keep going.
Sorry.
That's fine.
So the way that we use the fabric that we're printing on, we really optimise every square inch of the fabric, especially because the way that our orders go, so you order and then the garments are made to order
Oh,
for you.
wow.
Awesome.
So it just means that we're cutting each piece individually rather than cutting like 10 garments at a time. So depending on the combination of garments that we're cutting, we really make the most of each roll that we have. And if we do have like some larger spare pieces, they're used to make headscarves and soon to be scrunchies.
Amazing.
So good.
And so that uses most of it up. But the small, really, it's really only about a bag this size every probably 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
Of fabric
That's
that
amazing.
we do have left.
That's
Which is really cool.
Because they say that 20% of all fabric is wasted during the cutting phase.
Yeah,
So
it
to
is.
just have that
Yeah.
tiny amount
Yeah.
of scrap is
And
amazing.
especially because I suppose that's the benefit that we do have being such a small business, is that we can do stuff like that. The larger businesses that are trying to increase their profit margin want speed rather than sustainability. That's something that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, that's
Trying to
amazing.
create like a new blueprint
That's
of
so
how to
great.
run a fashion
Yeah,
business.
absolutely.
That's incredible.
And then it means that we're not also spending so much money on fabric.
Well,
as
that's,
well.
you know,
not
easy
costing
at all.
you.
Yeah, fabric is wasted
Yeah.
money as well, isn't
Yeah,
it? So
absolutely.
it's being smarter,
Yeah.
not harder.
Yeah. So it has an economic benefit. as
Yeah, and then the fabric that is left is actually recycled, not by me, by another business, but recycled into new clothes. So really none of it's lost, which is
well.
nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And I mean, we do use only natural fibres anyway, so it
Yeah.
could be biodegraded if it was necessary to
Yeah.
be. But they take, because we use the recycled nylon for the swimming sets, there is some synthetic in there, so they separate it all out and then it gets
course.
completely recycled. So
That's
great.
yeah.
Wow.
And something that I would love to improve on, or that we're working on improving, is also being a small business. Minimums are quite hard to meet, quite challenging, and so sometimes some of the fabric that I'm using is not my first preference, but still very high quality fabric and all natural fibres. But knowledge is quite difficult to come across, and especially in our industry as it is, it hasn't been the highest priority of a lot of manufacturers. So finding it is very time consuming, and purchasing fabrics that are traceable, they're very hard to find. And I'm a solopreneur, just me working on the business. So there are some things that we're definitely improving on. The next range will be even more traceable than the current range is. Yeah, but it's just about, like you were saying, just constantly trying to improve everything. And the ethics that we currently have is is what is possible for our business at the moment, and I suppose we like to think that everyone can see how authentically the business is run, and we're providing the best possible garment that we can at this point in time. And as we continue to grow, that will then the ethics will just continue improving and getting better and be more traceable. And how you're speaking about well-made clothes, there a lot of the businesses on there, they do an amazing job of showing their customers the traceability of the garments, and exactly who's making what. And we can say who's making what because everything is made in Adelaide, but in terms of the actual fabric, where it's milled and even where it's grown, that's definitely an aim for the future. Yeah.
That's amazing. I was also at Legacy Summit. They were talking a lot about these minimum orders, and they had Lizzie from Spell and the Gypsy Collective there, and I think Spell and the Gypsy is a pretty big brand. But they said they can't access the new Lensing Eco Bureau because their minimums are so low.
Wow.
And that's a big brand. Like, we're talking, you know, something that I see as big, but on the, I guess on the global scale, they're not considered big. So even they were really struggling to get minimum quantities, and they said they kept getting pushed down the priority list because their minimums were smaller. So I had sort of had this thought in my head before that, like, why did Spell release one range with eco-friendly fabric and now they've gone back to using like a less eco-friendly option? And to me, I thought it was like a lack of commitment, but it's not at all. They're super committed, but they just can't access it. And a lot of the even smaller designers at the summit were saying they've started Facebook groups, so they're going to get together and try and pull their orders so they can meet these minimums.
Which is a fantastic idea. That's a really good idea.
So
that's what I love about the eco-fashion sphere as well, is that everyone wants to help each other, which is great.
Well, that's it.
We want the blueprint to be mimicked. We want this to get out there. We're not trying to be exclusive about it.
Well, I think it's because the end goal is mutual. We all want to help the planet. We want to make it better for the future and our children and all that sort of stuff.
And the more people buying eco-fashion, whether or not it's our brand or not, is a win.
Exactly. That's right.
And that's something I found so interesting, like entering the fashion space. I was really nervous because I'm not from fashion and I don't consider myself like that. But it has been the most supportive bunch. Like within a year, you look at this group that we've got on the couch here, but there are other people as well in Adelaide. And honestly, I've never felt so supported by a community that would, from the outside, look like we're all in competition with each other. But I just don't think any of us feels like that at all.
No, it's more uplifting. And I think, like what I was saying about the Style and Stylist, it's this. And I think we all sort of touched on it. It's empowering. You know, it's empowering each other. It's empowering ourselves. It's empowering our clients. And, you know, just this whole vision to, you know, feel good about the impact that we're creating and helping other people to make a good choice with the impact that they make as well. So, you know, it's exciting.
Absolutely.
I reckon. Fees. What do you have? Anything what you are doing so much that is so good for the environment.
Massively.
To just choose one thing.
But I think he's a really...
You're doing really well.
I love the fact that...
Can I actually jump in and say something that I think that you're doing really well?
Yeah, please.
I think that you're doing such a great job of creating garments that are really interesting, unique and beautiful. Because I think a lot of eco-fashion... it limits people's choice on what they can choose to express their creativity, but I think you give them that option to choose pieces that are completely unique and fun and bright, and to get that from completely natural dyes.
That's what I was going to say, Lauren.
You are so talented at your craft.
Understanding the core of your product, you know, knowing that process. You know, as you were saying before, from your childhood, knowing that sort of that natural sort of experiences that you had, and then applying that to your craft. It's wonderful.
Thank you. That's really nice. For me, it's too many compliments.
Thank you.
For me, I guess something that I am proud of, that I know I do well, is the fact that, like, when I'm cleaning up my studio, something makes me really happy is when I'm sweeping up flowers as mess. I love feeling like this is compostable and this is going to go back into nature, and that makes me really, really happy. That does feel, that feels really good. Having a really minimum amount of waste, essentially, feels really great.
And somewhat therapeutic, I would imagine. Very, you know, I'm used to sweeping up food scraps for my children, but sweeping up, that's beautiful.
That feels really. Can
I sweep up petals?
You drive out to the Coorong, yes. Something that I find challenging would be knowing the carbon miles in the transport of the fabric. So we don't have an industry in Australia that you can buy silk. So I import silk. That's not a great feeling, knowing that I go to all the trouble to be, zero waste and to minimise, every kind of aspect I can, thinking that the carbon miles is just always going to be there. But like me and Lauren discussed before, you can't tick every single box. And another part of me always felt like I'm just making something. I feel like I'm contributing still to the issue. Just you're actually making a product still. But then if I don't do it, somebody else will step in and do it. And I know that I'm going to try my best to do it with the power that I have sustainably and ethically. So that empowers me to keep going. But there is sometimes a part of me that feels like, how am I making a difference? But
I think I have those sort of thoughts as well. And the thing that I always come back to is if we can make products that we know are as eco-friendly as they can be, and they're coming from a business that has great values, if we can substitute that into someone's purchase that they were otherwise going to purchase from somewhere else, then that is already in itself that's a huge win.
It is.
Redirecting their vote for what sort of business they want to be selling their clothing.
Absolutely. I mean, I work with 10 or 12 different labels, and I've been building my website recently, so I was writing out the values of each, trying to figure out how to communicate that and what they're doing well and what they're not doing so well. And each one is doing different things well. I mean, the brand you're wearing now from Carly, she focuses on supporting artisan communities and supporting, old crafts in textiles, and she does that incredibly well. And she was saying recently, again, like she wants to transition to purely organic as the next step, but again, it's difficult with minimum quantities. But she's doing things so well already. Again, it's not ticking all those boxes.
She's a beautiful designer.
Yeah, she does so well. She's been in the industry for a little while now, and she's really understands all the moving parts of the supply chains, but because she works with the fabric weavers back to that point, I think that really helps. But then I have other brands who are doing other things really well, and none of them is doing everything 100% perfect.
But that comes back to what we were saying before. Everyone doing the best that we can.
Absolutely.
It may not be perfect, but at least it's making a difference. Do you know?
And people support these brands who are trying their utmost, like you guys, to get it right. Then you're giving those labels, those business owners like you guys, the power and the funds to keep pushing and keep doing better each season and each range, because the reality is, the quantities are small, and the capital is often ourselves, funding ourselves.
And a lot of the research, I think I speak for everybody here when I say this, a lot of my time goes into researching. I spend so much time researching. Some days I just think that's all I'm doing. But you want to make the right decisions, and you want to make sure that you are offering a product that is to its truest of what you're trying to say it is. So for me, research is like this sort of non-spoken about thing that we all spend so much time doing.
So much time.
So packaging is a question that I get asked frequently about. I know, Lauren, you've got some thoughts on the slow fashion packaging industry.
Absolutely. I think when it comes to we are definitely in the minority of being smaller businesses, and we can make all the changes that we can. Like you and I, Phoebes, who have zero waste packaging, which we're very proud of, and it's pretty straightforward because, like you were saying, we do heaps of research and
what constitutes zero waste packaging? What are you using?
It just either can be recycled, just like paper, or biodegradable, also like paper, whatever you choose, or just foregoing it completely. It makes me so happy when I receive something in the mail that just has the cardboard mailer and no other packaging.
But
I currently use a hemp twine and paper to wrap my products in. So and a biodegradable mailer as well. So and it's home compostable, so it doesn't have to be industrially composted, which is pretty cool because that's like a pretty key difference. But for larger companies, I understand that it is a lot more challenging for them because they do have, when they're dealing with large retailers, they have requirements put on them, which does throw up a few more challenges. When I was stocking my cards at a large supermarket, I was packaging them not at all. So they were completely free of packaging. It was just the card and the envelope, but they had to have packaging around them. So I managed to source some home compostable small card envelopes that are completely see-through. They're beautiful, and a few other businesses saw them, and then they've now taken them on as well.
That's
which is
so
pretty cool.
good.
That's great.
Yeah, but just for the larger businesses, I think there's so many technological advancements at the moment, and a lot of partnering with universities doing research in this space, that the products that we're seeing coming out are just as good, if not better, than their non-sustainable counterparts. And it's really cool to see so many industries coming together and creating solutions to these issues. I recently went to Raw Assembly in Sydney, which
amazing.
is a sustainable sourcing event, and it was actually really cool. I just expect to see fabric, but there was so many other materials that are used in the fashion industry and packaging, things being made of such sustainable resources. I mean, it is fabric, but there was like orange peel fabric, which is super cool, and bacterial dye, which I know that you were super interested in, Beebs. And packaging, made from all kinds of biodegradable materials. It was really, really cool. So there are options of really high quality packages.
Because I know in the bigger chain stores, the amount of plastic that is coming in there with the packaging. I mean,
and often
they've got
every
a lot to
single
answer
item.
for, don't they? Because
it's
if
just
even
not
one of those
necessary
big
anymore.
that's right. Even if one of the big stores stopped doing that or changed the way they did that.
And it would also bring down the cost for everyone as well, because if the demand's
Absolutely.
there, then, and I mean, as it stands already, that sort of packaging is not hugely more expensive than the
And also,
non-sustainable
it begs the
packaging.
question: why do we expect things to be packaged? What is it about us that feels special enough to have everything packaged so perfectly all the time? We are just buying something.
Actually, when I received my first box of products from Carly, I was like, oh gosh, everything's wrapped in plastic. But even though it looked like each piece, it was all biodegradable. It wasn't plastic at all. And I just thought, if she's doing it, why isn't everyone doing it? These products are available. I bought the compostable mailers when we start the website, and they weren't that expensive. And I imagine if you're buying them hugely on bulk, like a big business, they'd be even cheaper. The alternatives are there.
A lot of those packaging businesses, they are small businesses themselves. So really, if there was such huge demand for it, that would really push them on to keep doing what they're doing.
No excuses.
Some of my fabric comes packed in like a Hessian sack, and it's been handwritten on the front, and it's amazing that it goes through the postal system like that. Just arrives with hand. I was like,
gorgeous.
That's so good.
it's amazing.
That sounds great.
Well, I took a garment to the post office the other day in a compostable mailer, all sealed up, and the lady said, oh, you need to buy one of those bags for it. And I said, no, this is the bag. And she said, it's not going to be strong enough. And I was like, yes, this is a mailing bag. Like, they just hadn't seen it before. It's just
and I think
something we have to
that's
just
with
push.
everything. It's shifting the mentality. As you're saying, Phoebe, like, why do we feel like we need it to be a certain way? Well, because we've been told, or we've, subconsciously
we're just used to it.
changed, that's right. We need to shift that mentality because we've been fed this information for so long, and, whether it's
like having it wrapped in heaps of tissue is fancy.
Beautiful. That's right, and that's it.
But once
not
you
necessary.
see that as waste, that changes your whole mind.
That's it.
And you don't want it anymore.
The clothing itself should be fancy. It should be about the garment, not about, because if I had any of this in front of me, I'd be like, wow. Whereas if I had to unwrap it, I'd be like, oh, get rid of that, get to the point, cut to the chase, and that's what it is.
Just a mindset shift.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, guys, so just to wind this up today, I think it's really important that we contribute a bit of advice to our audience, because we've all got something different to contribute, from different angles of the fashion industry that we're working in. My personal advice to our audience, and to you guys too if you want to hear it, but I feel like you guys are all already doing it, is to really be conscious about your consumption of clothing. Think twice before you buy. I'm not saying don't go shopping. I'm not saying don't buy clothes, but when you do go to buy clothes, don't go with the vision to buy 20 pieces. I know when I was younger, I used to think when I would get home and I had a piece in my bags that I'd forgotten about, then that was a successful shop. That was the way I used to think until I evolved and realised actually that's a terrible way to think. It's awful. I now actually go with the, if I go shopping, which is not all that often for myself, obviously for my clients I go often, but I go with the incentive of getting one piece. And if I come home with nothing, then that's okay too. So when you go out and go shopping, really think about what is missing in your wardrobe and then go to the shops to replace that missing piece. And whether it's to an op shop, whether it's to a department store, whether it's to a boutique store, you know, a little local store, hello, there's some people here, know that piece that you're looking for. So if it's a t-shirt or a pair of jeans, you know that when you're in a space that might otherwise be quite overwhelming, if you're looking for that one piece, then you will have more time to try on and choose consciously. Again, I'm going to use that word because it's really important that you're considering that garment, and then you'll also have time to really consider the story of that garment. So instead of getting something that is fast fashion that has a terrible story, it's quite a sad story really when you think about it. Think about all the way back to who's made that and the sadness that is inherent with that garment. You can then actually make that conscious decision to go somewhere where you can perhaps meet the hands of somebody that's made that garment, or meet someone who can tell you the story about someone that has made that garment. And then it's a happy ending for you, for the garment, for the story of that garment
planet
as well, for the planet exactly.
For makers.
But if you're aware of what's missing in your wardrobe and you go with the intention to replace what you need, not just want because a magazine is telling you to buy that, or the television is telling you to buy that, or of course social media.
Well, my
is
advice
telling you
is
to buy
related
that.
to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say the number one thing I've learned is buy things you know will suit you and that you'll feel fabulous in, and don't get sucked in by thinking, oh, but it looks so great and it's so cool on that model or in that piece of advertising, like maybe it will work for me, maybe I can make it work. How many times I do that because I just love beautiful things. Like I love anything handmade or anything with beautiful embroidery, and how many times you go, yes, I love it, and then you get it and go, hang on, I never wear this style. Like I know I don't love
And
this.
we all
I know
have
I
different
don't feel
body
good in
shapes.
this.
So what looks good on the catwalk models going down, you know, their bodies are a unique body type. You know, we all sitting here on the
So
couch,
buy
we all
something
have
you
different
feel
bodies.
amazing in.
So you need to do what suits you,
Yeah.
you know, and as you said, that you feel it fabulous in, and that you can conquer your day or week or year.
And be like, and own your style and feel confident in it. And I mean, as a part of that, like, let's get rid of this whole, you can't be seen more than 3 times in your fabulous dress. Like, follow Ethically Kate on Instagram. She does this so well. She's always wearing this lovely Tamga Designs dress, and she always says, here's me at another wedding in my dress again, you know, because that is such a silly social norm that we've evolved to believe. Like, let's change the social
But
norm.
honestly,
Like,
who
you're
notices?
wearing that dress again.
You're not that important for somebody else to notice. Do you know what I mean?
But if they do
that's
notice,
what I think
like,
about myself.
If you notice your friend wearing that dress again, say,
wow,
yes,
you
it's
look hot.
so good to see you
Great.
wearing that dress again, rather than like, oh, she's wearing that same dress again. Like, we need to change how we react to it. Like, you are a legend, you're wearing that dress again. Like, you are reducing its carbon footprint, you're making the most of it. Like, excellent.
I was reading up on capsule wardrobes the other day, and one of the quotes was that you are just wearing your favourite pieces of clothing all the time.
Yes, I
It's
love
not-
that.
Yeah.
Remember when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I want to be
I've thought of
doing.
this
And I
before.
went in my wardrobe and I was like, oh, these are special pants I normally wear. I'm like, I'm wearing today. I'm wearing them today. I'm doing yeah. And it was so,
Wear your
it was
special
so,
pants.
so liberating to put them on, like, and feel like, why do I keep these special and I wear them one time a year?
And it makes you
What is
feel
that?
amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does make you
do
feel
it all the
amazing.
time,
Yeah.
Coco Chanel, when she designed the little black dress all those years ago,
Yeah.
it was about having that one little black dress that you wear to death.
Yeah.
You know, it's only in recent decades that we
Yeah.
think we can only be seen in something once.
Yeah.
She's the pinnacle of fashion, if you ask me, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
You know, she neutralized clothing for women. It didn't have to be specific. We could wear pants, for God's sake, and it was okay. So if she can actually say, have a little black dress, wear it to death, she didn't use those words, obviously.
The fast fashion wants us to think we need something new every week. That's how they make money. You gotta be aware of why they're trying to convince you of this. Then you can combat it. Lauren, what's your one piece of advice?
Oh, my one piece of advice is, and what Erin was saying before, I think that sometimes I do need a bit of retail therapy,
Yeah.
and I just use op shops as my retail therapy.
Yes.
And you know, sometimes any other purchase is always a conscious purchase. But if I just need to go and chill out by myself for a little bit and have a look and see what I find, sometimes I do find pieces that, like, I have this incredible jacket that I found that is handmade, and it is just a rainbow of colours. And I just found that when I was walking in an op shop one day, and I love it so much. So sometimes I do find some
And you'll
cool
connect
stuff.
back with that day when you were giving yourself time off too.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm all for op shops. Most of my wardrobe is purchased from vintage stores and op shops, but then I just go the pants that need to be tailored and fitted correctly, that they're just from ethical manufacturers. But op shops all the way, because even if something stays in your wardrobe for a month and then you just pass it back on to an op shop or to a friend or something, you're not adding to the machine, you're not adding to the demand.
Not using any resources.
That's right.
I just kind of use op shops as clothing libraries. You just
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really good. I like that. Can we quote that? You know, I look at op shops as clothing libraries. That's beautiful.
beautiful.
And that is right, because you know you can get, and if you do want to have a unique outfit for a special occasion, you can buy it. But then invariably you probably end up loving it so much that you'll do it again and again and again, like your jacket that you're talking about, and the way your face lit up about. You know, as you were saying, you know, that was the time you gave off to yourself, and that was the find that you made,
That's so
and
important.
that's what's fun about op shops, because they're real
And then
gems.
and then in the end, if nothing else, the money that you're spending there
Goes
goes
to
to
charity.
charity.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
What's your advice?
My advice.
Steve?
Well, I'm gonna sort of channel my inner Claire Press here. I think it's really about understanding that we're not necessarily special people that have chosen to promote sustainable fashion. Anybody and everybody can get involved in this. It's a movement. It's encouraging. Like I said before, it's inclusive. We want people to feel that they can rise and resist, as Claire Press says.
Read the book. That's an incredible book.
That's an incredible book.
Yes.
It's an incredible book. It's
I really
really, really
recommend it.
empowering. And as I'm reading through it, I'm like, she knows me.
Yeah.
Wow, it's an amazing book.
Yeah, it really is.
But if you don't know about her, please check her out, and also check out Fashion Revolution Week, which is what we're all sitting here today promoting.
Yes.
So
I think it's the 22nd to the 28th of April.
April.
Yep.
So
Not
in
far
just
away.
a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
and there's a lot of different people doing different events all around different countries.
Follow them on Instagram, fash_rev_OzNZ. They tell you exactly how you can get involved, but there's some really easy things like taking a photo of the label of whatever you're wearing that day, sending it in to the brand, or just tagging them on Instagram and asking them who made my clothes.
Yep.
Because one thing that's really missing in this whole piece is just a lack of transparency generally with big brands. And if you don't ask them and you don't hold them to account, they might not know, or they don't have to tell you. And if they don't have to tell you, then they can keep doing things
There's also
business as usual. So
no reason why you can't go into a store and actually just ask the retail assistant,
absolutely.
what do you know what
Yes.
your brands, and not to put pressure on them, but then it starts a conversation in their shop, and maybe they could ask their boss, hey, what's our stance on sustainability? And it's those little conversations that are hugely impacting.
Absolutely.
No.
Be curious, ask questions, and ask them in a friendly, welcoming way. We don't want to alienate anybody, but just getting those conversations happening. I mean, again, talking back about Spell, they went on their sustainability journey after a customer wrote to them saying who made my clothes a few years ago, and it's changed their entire business.
Yeah.
So you can really have an impact. I think that's
It's important to have that dialogue, and I think also if you're not a part of the fashion revolution in the way that we already are, I think if you, in the privacy of your own home, start to make those small changes, then you'll probably find that you can make a little bit of an impact in your own way. And look, we absolutely encourage you to get involved in all these other ways and get on socials, but I understand, that some of you are a little bit shy and would rather talk privately.
Life's
And
busy.
if you're waiting for someone to sort of tell you, so to follow what you're saying, I'm telling you that you are part of Fashion Revolution business.
You're part of it.
Yeah.
You're watching this.
Yeah.
You're already.
Yeah, that's right. You're watching this.
Yeah.
You're a part of it. This is it.
And also, if you feel like you need a little bit more direction on how to get involved,
message any of us.
Yes.
Privately,
Yes.
please
We're
do. Yes.
accessible, and you can chat directly to us and ask us some questions. And
Yeah. We love talking about this, obviously.
And if you want any tips on anything that we do, not just about the revolution, just if you want to know more about us, you can, we're not scary.
or if you're another business that's looking into increasing
absolutely.
your sustainability, transparency, I'm sure we'd all be happy to share secrets.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's not about it's not about owning knowledge in this space. Like everyone wants to share everything
Opposite.
we've discovered because we genuinely want the industry to shift and we genuinely want to make a difference. So
That's it.
Yeah,
So-
there's no blame and shame. It's like
That's
really
it.
inclusive and beautiful and positive.
That's it. That's the overarching
Yeah.
word, isn't it? So I guess now's the opportunity for me to say thank you to everyone on
Thank
behalf of
you.
all of us for coming in and listening to our story. You might see more of us, but that's something in the pipeline. In the meantime, please get involved with Fashion Revolution Week at the end of the month, and let us know how you do get involved. We'd love to hear from you. So,
Yeah, we love hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.